even weigh 200.
Lack of routes for crops to be brought into markets from the west and the south of the country has also resulted in higher transport costs as traders look at different ways to bring in produce to be sold. And warehouses where the harvests are stored are not spared from the violence. This warehouse was destroyed in an RSF drone attack, leading to a further reduction in the amount of crops available for traders to buy and export.
We were severely harmed. The warehouses were very full, and when the drones hit, the traders were hurt. They were hurt very much. All these shops were burned, and the grains as well. We became jobless, and we stopped working for a long time. But now, thank God, we became a little more stable and started working.
More than 30 million Sudanese are facing food shortages and can't afford increased food costs. And with the fighting continuing, the situation is likely to get worse. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera.
Arjumand Hussain is the Sudan Regional Response Manager at Plan International. He's currently in Chad, near the Sudanese border, where there have been reports of famine conditions in some areas. He's with us now live. Good to have you with us, sir. So the famine threshold for acute malnutrition has been surpassed in North Darfur. Tell us about the situation that you and your teams are encountering there right now.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on your program. The situation in North Darfur is really precarious. Well, organizations like Plan and other humanitarian and UN actors have been trying to address the humanitarian needs of the displaced populations from Al-Fashir since October 2025. We know that the locality of Tawila in North Darfur is hosting about 700,000 IDPs, internally displaced persons, mainly from localities like Al-Fashir. And we have been struggling to reach out to those populations who are still stuck in Al-Fashir. And now we have this active hostility situations emerging in other parts of northern Darfur, mainly in these two locations in Baru and Kurnai, which are closer to the border with Chad. Right now, I'm standing here at the border between Chad and Sudan, and this location, Baru and Kurnai, are about 170 kilometers north from here. And what we saw in the report yesterday is that basically 5 children out of 10 children in Baru is basically starving. And that's because of the reason that people have been displaced because of the ongoing fighting, and they don't have any access, a secure access to food markets, and they are not being able to reach, safe locations in order to access some food. So this is quite a precarious situation. And now the only way to reach the people who are stuck in these two locations of Baru and Kurnai is through Chad, the Tine border up in the north, across the border. So we are trying our best to reach out the populations. Since the report came out yesterday, we are trying to get in touch with the local responders here so that we are able to send some food across the border in these two locations.
Okay. Arjumand, stay where you are. I just want to play you a little clip of what the UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has said. He's appealed for $400 million to address mounting needs in countries such as Sudan. And here's what he had to say.
We are currently in survival mode. We are delivering under strain, and I just want to give you some consequences of our reduced funding. Last year, we managed to undertake less than half the number of human rights monitoring missions if you compare it with 2024. That means less evidence for prevention and protection. We reduced our presences in 17 countries, including some with fragile transitional justice processes.
Arjumand, you heard Volker Turk there appealing for at least $400 million, but at least $2.9 billion is needed to counter the impact of the situation there in Sudan. I mean, where and who could help to put together this amount when, as you were saying, funding cuts right now are everywhere in Africa?
Yeah, that's the main concern. Organizations like Plan International and 21 other humanitarian organizations yesterday issued a statement expressing our deep concern on the situation in Darfur, including this latest starvation situation. And what we have done in that joint statement is call upon international community, including the traditional donors, to come up to the situation and provide resources. We have asked three main things from the international community. One, support from all the armed groups who are engaged in the current hostilities to provide unimpeded access to all humanitarian organizations so that we are able to reach the affected populations. Secondly, resources, financial resources are quite important in this situation because as we know that the humanitarian funding situation is quite dire in Sudan. Barely 60% of the funding committed for 2025 was secured. And we see even more bleak outlook for 2026. So besides asking for financial resources, not only for the international humanitarian system, but also for the local responders so that all of us are able to, respond effectively and reach out to the affected populations in these inaccessible areas.
Arjumand, we wish you and your teams the best as you go about your work. Many thanks indeed for being with us. Arjumand Hussain there from Plan International. Nigeria says that all 166 Christian worshippers who were kidnapped by gunmen during attacks on 3 churches last month have been rescued. The last 89 captives were received by the governor of Kaduna State. A total of 183 people were initially abducted. Some of them managed to escape, and the rest were freed 3 days ago. In western Nigeria, communities in Kwara State are reeling from attacks that killed nearly 170 people. In response, President Tinubu has deployed an army battalion to the area. Some breaking news now from Pakistan's capital. A suicide bomb attack targeting a Shia mosque in Islamabad has killed at least 15 people. At least 80 others are reported to have been injured. Police and rescue teams are at the scene. Local hospitals have declared emergencies in response to the attack. Our correspondent, Kamal Haider, is with us on the line now from Pakistan. Kamal, what can you tell us?
Well, according to the information that we have, the suicide bomber was trying to get into that mosque. This is Friday, so the Friday prayers normally draws large crowds. The suicide bomber was then stopped outside the main gate. He, of course, would have been attempting to get into that mosque, and that is when he exploded his device. So high casualties feared, as you mentioned, a number of people killed and many more wounded.
Kamal, we will be back with you when we've got more details on this breaking news story. But let's just again recap here. A suicide bombing at a mosque in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, on Friday morning has killed a number of people and injured many more. These are the latest pictures. As I said, we'll bring you more on this developing story as soon as we get more details. You're with the news hour from Al Jazeera. We'll get a weather update next. Then, families in northeastern India mourn the loss of loved ones killed in an explosion at an illegal mine. And the hosts are off the mark in ice hockey as the Winter Olympics gets underway in Milano Cortina. Action coming up in sport.
The floods in Portugal have taken at least one life. The flooding extended into Andalusia as well in southern Spain. But this is the line of the flooding. It's gone further east now. It's not as fierce, but the low is sitting in the northern Adriatic. The one ahead of that is now over the Black Sea, and it looks like it's bringing warm air. These are warm fronts over the freezing weather in Ukraine, for example. But it's still going to be cold, unfortunately. Now, in the immediate future, there's not much cloud over Portugal and Spain, but this is what the last batch of rain, a named storm, left behind. You know, this is waist-high water in this part of Portugal. Now, this, of course, is what has happened, not what's going to happen, but there is more rain coming, and it is going to be heavy. With the last rain were strong winds. This is off the coast of Mallorca. in the Balearics. Now, it looks like there'll be rain, but not heavy rain on Friday. The heaviest quite possibly Albania or western Greece. Temperatures have risen in Kiev, but we're still talking -7. This is because the snow's coming in, tends to warm things up. Very heavy rain seems likely in Portugal and Spain on Saturday. Expect yet more flooding. The forecast for Kiev reflects what happens when it snows. The temperature does rise. You're up to about -4 by Saturday, but it starts to get colder again. When the snow clears and it's on the ground and it's open skies, it drops down to -12 as your best temperature.
As Cold War shadows fell across Latin America,
the seizure of power by Fidel Castro had traumatized the United States.
A wave of military coups took place in Chile, Brazil, and other countries.
They'd suspended the 1965 parliamentary elections, dissolved political parties, and abolished direct presidential elections.
In the first part of a new series, Al Jazeera examines how the U.S. helped bring down democracies and fuel dictatorships. Latin America, in the shadow of the U.S., coups on Al Jazeera.
Heavy winter rains have compounded the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where the Al Khair Foundation is urgently calling for more tents and essential winter supplies to be allowed into the besieged territory. This winter, your contribution makes all the difference. Donate now to the Al Khair Foundation and help us deliver warmth and care to those who need it most. Call our donation hotline or visit alkhair.org today.
Hello again, you're with the News Hour from Al Jazeera. Adrian Finnegan here in Doha. The main news this hour, talks between the US and Iran are underway in Oman. Tehran says the talks should focus on its nuclear program and the lifting of sanctions. The US says they must also include Iran's ballistic missile capability and its support for regional armed groups. In breaking news, a suicide bomb attack targeting a Shia mosque in Pakistan's capital Islamabad has killed at least 15 people. At least 80 others have been injured. Police and rescue teams are at the scene. Local hospitals have declared emergencies in response to the attack. A senior Russian military leader has been shot and wounded in Moscow. Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexeyev has been taken to hospital after suffering several gunshot wounds in a residential building. He's a deputy chief of military intelligence who helped stop a mutiny in 2023 led by the late leader of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin. Police are searching for suspects in the attack. Let's go live now to Moscow. Al Jazeera's Yulia Shapovalova is there for us. Yulia, what more do we know about the general's condition?
Well, according to the latest reports we're getting, the general is currently in intensive care in a serious condition with one of the bullets hitting a vital organ. The incident happened early in the morning here in Moscow, in the northwest of Moscow. The general was leaving his apartment and reportedly he tried to take the attacker's gun away, and his active resistance did not allow the attacker to kill him. So also we know that the attacker entered the building disguised as a food delivery worker and wounded the general in the arm, leg and chest. Reportedly, the investigation has the attacker's photos and videos. The investigation does not rule out the participation of Ukrainian special services in that attack. At the moment, we know that the area where the assassination attempt happened is cordoned off. So basically, the suspect is being chased at the moment, and the investigation has been launched into this case. So again, General Alexeyev participated in combat operations during the Russian military campaign in Syria, and as you mentioned, he was the one who recorded an appeal to the Wagner mercenary group to stop and not start civil war during Yevgeny Prigozhin's mutiny in June 2023. And later he also participated in negotiations with Yevgeny Prigozhin.
Yulia, many thanks. That's Al Jazeera's Yulia Shapovalova reporting live there from Moscow. The UK's Prime Minister has apologised to victims of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein for appointing Peter Mandelson as US ambassador, despite his ties to Epstein. Keir Starmer said that he will go on leading the country and that he didn't know the depth and darkness of the former ambassador's relationship with Epstein. Al Jazeera's Rory Challens reports from London.
Keir Starmer was in Hastings on Thursday, the town known to every school child here for the 1066 battle where an English king died with an arrow in his eye. Labour MPs are asking whether Starmer's political vision has been similarly impaired as he fights to stop the Peter Mandelson scandal, dealing his beleaguered leadership a mortal blow.
At the time I appointed him, I got answers from him which I believed to be true. He painted a...
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how AI gives me all the answers. Since all our company info is in ClickUp, Brain can give me answers that no other AI would know, like what's our PTO policy? Questions I normally ask my team are now instantly answered by Brain, so I get what I need and my team doesn't get
ambassador when his close connections to Jeffrey Epstein were already public. Many Labour MPs are demanding Starmer sack his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney. He's the official they blame for the debacle.
Prime Minister.
Some even say Starmer's time as Prime Minister is up. Opposition parties certainly are.
He knew. He knew that Mandelson had a continuing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He knew Mandelson had stayed in his house while Epstein was in jail for child prostitution. The Prime Minister knew all this, and yet he appointed Peter Mandelson anyway to the most prestigious job in the diplomatic service.
But if the Prime Minister is to fall, it has to come from within.
It has to be his own party or himself deciding that he can't go on. And whatever rivals he has are either deliberately locked out of Parliament or they are keeping their heads down. No minister has yet plunged the knife, and until that changes, Starmer limps on.
Yet undeniably damaged, a leader already bearing scars from many other arguably self-inflicted wounds. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, London.
Al Jazeera's Milena Veselinovic is outside Parliament in London. She's with us now live. Milena, how much pressure is the Prime Minister under right now over Mandelson?
Well, if the UK Prime Minister thought that by apologising to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, he would lower the temperature here in Westminster, he was wrong. There are backbench MPs who are calling for him to be sacked, and they're calling for his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, to be sacked because McSweeney was a long-time ally of Peter Mandelson and did much to lobby for him to get the Washington job. Now, Starmer has repeatedly said that while he knew about the links between Epstein and Mandelson, he didn't know, as Rory put that, the depth and the darkness of that relationship. But that excuse or argument doesn't hold much water with many high-profile Labour MPs who say it makes the UK Prime Minister look naive and gullible, and that there is a consensus are not the qualities that people want in a leader of the country, because at the end of the day, it does come down to his judgment. Once again, there was a lot of information available in the public domain about the relationship between Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein. Even press reports that Mandelson had been visiting Epstein after his conviction on child sex offences. Now, Starmer said that Mandelson had lied to his face, saying that there wasn't much of a relationship there, but at the end of the day, he did choose to believe the word of a man who, number one, wanted a job from him, number two, had already twice been sacked from previous governments over unrelated scandals, over the evidence that was right in front of him.
And how big a crisis, Milena, is this for the Prime Minister's governing Labour Party? How much damage has this done to the party in the eyes of voters?
Well, Labour Party is already polling very low. When it comes to Keir Starmer as the Prime Minister, he's got record low ratings, the lowest in possibly modern British history, so this certainly doesn't help. And Labour campaigned promising change. They said it would be a break from the scandal-ridden previous Conservative governments, that they would bring stability and prosperity, and yet we have something like this Mandelson scandal, which is particularly damaging because it does play into those suspicions that some people have about politicians, that they're out there for personal gain, just to get something for themselves. And there is more jeopardy potentially also coming for the Labour Party and Keir Starmer, because the Conservatives have asked for all documents relating to the vetting of Peter Mandelson to be published. And Labour and Keir Starmer have agreed under pressure from their own Labour MPs. Now, there's a caveat there that a parliamentary committee will have to look at it first and exempt things that might impact on national security. Now, the Metropolitan Police here in London have also asked for some documents to be redacted as well, because they have an open criminal investigation into Peter Mandelson over allegations that he had leaked market-sensitive data to Epstein while serving as the business secretary in 2009 in the wake of the global financial crash. But it could turn up other things, because these documents will likely contain WhatsApps between key figures in the UK government. We don't know what's contained in them, but it could be risky. So all of it spelling trouble for the Labour Party.
Al Jazeera's Milena Veselinovic reporting live there from Westminster in London. Milena, many thanks. Portugal goes to the polls to pick a president on Sunday in an election seen as a critical test for the country. Chega Party leader André Ventura has made it to the second round, campaigning against immigration. His unprecedented success has shocked many in a country long seen as one of the EU's most tolerant. Natasha Butler reports now from Albufeira in the southern Algarve region.
In this market in the Algarve, far-right Chega MP João Graça is campaigning for his party's leader, André Ventura. The former TV commentator turned populist politician is running for president, and Graça says Portugal needs him.
Portugal's needed Ventura for a long time. André Ventura is a politician that